The first thing we need to get ready for dinner tonight are the smashed potatoes. I've got Yukon Golds here. I've washed them, poked them all over with a knife, and now we need to oil them. The best way to do that is to put a little bit of olive oil in the palm of your hand. We're talking like a teaspoon, not a whole lot more. Then treat it like lotion. Rub it and lather them up. Once you've got them all good and coated, it's time to bake them. This is going to be different. You're actually going to be baking them on the cookie sheet and not directly onto the oven itself. However, I like to try to save myself a step, so either parchment paper or foil is your best friend. Get your parchment paper or, again, foil. Oh, look at that. It's the last piece I've got, and it's the perfect size. Yahoo, serendipity. Be careful putting your potatoes on the tray because they're going to want to roll off, so make sure you move slowly. You're going to bake these for 1 hour at 350 degrees. That's why these have to go first, because you need them in there for a full hour to get nice and soft. While those are baking, we're going to get going on well, it's not accurate to call it the sauce, but the next step in the smashed potatoes. You want half a stick of butter, slice it up into thick rounds. It's just going to make it easier for it to melt a little bit more evenly. Then you're going to add a couple dashes of crushed red pepper. I told you, we love that in this house. Turn your heat onto medium and then be patient. You are going to be making a brown butter to put on top of those potatoes. This is going to take a little bit of time, but not as much time as you think it will. Swirl the pan around every now and then just to help everything really start to melt, and then be patient. It will sizzle, it will keep cooking, and underneath the foamy part, you're going to begin to see some color. Keep swirling the pan around because it gives you glimpses as to what's happening underneath the foam. In fact, you see how you're starting to see little golden bits pop up? Now is the time when we add our other seasoning to it. You want to put in half a teaspoon of dried sage. Keep swirling that pan around at regular intervals. Not just because it will help the sage and crushed red pepper incorporate, but because it will keep giving you little glimpses as to what's happening to that butter underneath. Because the longer it cooks, the more it's going to separate. You're going to have the foamy part on top and then the cooked butter underneath. Look how beautiful. It's not burned. It's really toasted. This is going to taste delicious on those potatoes. Now, onto the steak. I think steak bites taste the best with sirloin. I was able to find some sirloin medallions that were on sale that I can easily chunk up into smaller pieces. But it is absolutely okay if you want to buy the big sirloins and cut them up that way. Because these are going to be smaller pieces, it is important to pay attention to the veins of gristle. It's not going to be easy to get around them so much because it'll be in such smaller bites. Pay attention, cut off any of the hard fat too that's on the outside, and they'll brown up beautifully. Next step on the potatoes. You want to spray the bottom of a heavy glass or plate, but it just has to be flat. Then push it down onto the potato so that it pops. You don't want to slam it down because you don't want to explode the spud, but you really do want to smush them so that you've got lots of surface area exposed, especially of the flesh. Remember that brown butter? Now is when it gets to shine. Get it as well as a spoon, and you're going to spoon it all over these beautiful potatoes. Really pay attention of getting it in the nooks and crannies in between the cracks. It is going to give it so much flavor. Afterwards, salt, pepper, put it back in the oven at 350 for another 15 to 20 minutes. Time to get ready for the steak. You're going to want a flat pan, and we're going to do half a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil at a time. You need this pan hot. Very hot. Make sure you've got your spices on hand because it's going to cook quick. Hear that sizzle? That's what you want as soon as you put the meat in the pan. The pan is so hot. You want it hot enough that when you turn the piece of meat over, it's got a little bit of a crispy bark on the outside. That is going to taste so good. Sear in that flavor and be perfect in every bite. Once your tester piece is done, slice it open to make sure it's at a good temperature. If it needs more, cook it more. If it's done, then you're ready to go. This is going to be cooking in batches. Get your steak pieces and scatter them all over the pan. Do not put them close together or they will steam instead of sear. And then you're going to be seasoning each batch as you go. You've got regular salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and a little bit of cayenne. Do a gentle dusting on each side for each batch. Look at how pretty that sear is. Absolutely gorgeous. This is why you want to do it in batches, because each piece then is going to have that crust on it. Turn them over once, and after the other side gets a sear, then you can start just tossing the pan to make sure that all sides get nice and cooked. As always, it's very important to do a quality control test. Yep, ooh, perfect. Look at the inside of that steak. Wonderfully pink. These are ready to go. Take them off, put them on a plate, and keep them in a warm oven. Move on to the next batch. No need to wipe out the pan in between batches. A tablespoon of olive oil, half a tablespoon of butter, let it come back up to that hot temperature and keep cooking. As soon as your last batch of steak is in the pan, turn the oven off and then make the easiest part of tonight's meal, your bag salad. And that's it. Steak bites, salad, smashed potatoes. Find the recipe on my blog, lifeinreallife.net, and enjoy.